Well, good afternoon, everybody. What is it? Just about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The sun is out, which is encouraging. Anyway, here we are. Once again, I guess you're all paying attention to the news, listening to the president and everybody else, Dr. Fauci and everybody else talking, so you know as much as I do about all this. I am hearing, though, that I was at a meeting. I was at a Zoom meeting at the department today, and the Hofstra apparently is looking to be open by the end of August for the fall semester. People will be getting assigned their classes with the rooms, and I don't know what they know, but I hope they're right. I mean, I can't wait till this all sort of gets back to some sort of semblance of normalcy. In any event, there's a couple of things to talk about. I'm going to make a separate video either right after this or tomorrow morning about what I got at the meeting today, which includes grading and other things, technical business, the proficiency exam, things like that. So there's some changes, there's some things we should know about, that you should know about especially, and we have to take care of before the end of the semester. One thing I will say is that the next two essays, at least one of them, the next one needs to have secondary sources. Okay, you know how to do this. It's a documented essay. You did it in English 1 and probably in high school, so you have to know how to do it again. There's more to this when I talk about the proficiency exam in the next video, because we can go back and look at an earlier essay if you like that one, but I'll talk more about that. But definitely the next one needs to have secondary sources, so keep that in mind. There's already a video I made for a different class that I'm using for this class as well, on love in LA. Just keep in mind this identity thing. I'm sort of interested in this identity thing. I think it's very important, especially in these current times. I think it's a very apt, interesting coincidence that we are talking about who we are at a time when everybody seems to be equalized on some level. Let me come back to that. Sorry, I'm just writing something down. This is live. What are you going to do? It's live TV. Getting great reviews, by the way. Some guy from Canada, hello, my friend. He is liking me. I don't know. I'm big in Canada, apparently. This is great. Anyway, there's already a video about Love in LA. First of all, I want to just quickly talk about that story and Say Yes and The Storm. They're all very short, and since we're only focusing on one aspect of them, I can sort of lump them all into one video. Although we could have spent a lot more time in the classroom, of course, but certainly I'll entertain your questions. If you have concerns about this, please use the discussion board, or you all got my email, use it. The Love in LA, if you haven't read them, stop the video, go read them, come back with them fresh in your mind, and like magic, we're back. The Love in LA. Two people meet on a highway, as you already got from the other video if you looked at it. In terms of our focus on identity, though, one of the things that's interesting about that particular story is that their identity is really sort of strangely based only upon that they don't trust each other and the cars that they drive. They have names. He's Jake and she's what? Anne? I forget her name. But we don't really care about their names. Their names don't matter to us because we know that Jake is a dreamer phony, and she's just driving, a car that Daddy got her and doesn't really have much to say for herself. She's not really a fully formed character. Jake is completely immersed in his fantasy world. They're not really people. They're sort of types. Now, I guess that's true of a lot of characters in literature, but very much so in this story. We don't really care about Jack and whatever her name is, Anne or something. We care about only that type of person, sort of like we know someone like that. And frankly, at the end of the story, we don't really think about those two people. We think about what possibly could be the end of romance or the end of love as we know it. Is love built on deception? But this whole deception thing, if that's what the writer was up to, is partly based on the fact that they don't really know who each other is. And so there's that identity idea again. We don't know. Jake only assumes who she is because she drives a Corolla. And she doesn't have any idea who he is, except he may be a rock star, he may be in the movies, he may be this, he may be that. We never find out what he is through her eyes. So there's that real emptiness there. And of course, that's what sort of the writer wants, I suppose. And we get that from the story, and he wants us to focus on the bigger things. As far as Say Yes is concerned, there's lots of things to say about Say Yes, but then again, in a literature class, which is not what this is, there's all kinds of things. We have two people who are just a regular, ordinary, stereotypical couple who live at home. We know that we assume that they're both white because she asks about whether he would have still married her if she were black. So just for the sake of discussion, they're two of the same race. We just assume it's white. It could be anything, I suppose. But there's all kinds of large issues here. The gap between who you are and how you behave. The question about, is honesty the best policy? Can you ever really know anyone? Which brings us right around to our identity issue. What is that? What are we trying to know when we say we've got to get to know you? And what is it that you put forth as a person who wants to be known, that identifies you? What is it? What do you do to help it along? And what do we look for? And can you really know someone? I don't know. I mean, and it's I'm married 40-something years. I don't know, more than that. And I'm still discovering things about my wife. You just never know. Circumstances come up, and you learn things. And of course, one of the things you come away with is that maybe you don't know anybody at all. You just have some information, and you sort of do the best you can with it. Maybe it's all just hope for the best. And if the marriage works out, whoa, look at you, what a statistic. And if it doesn't, people throw their hands up and think, well, yeah, of course not. What are you gonna do? So I think if you look at the story in terms of identity, these two people are, again, they're a little bit more fleshed out than Jake and the one in Love in LA, but not by a lot. They both sort of keep a little from each other. I mean, he likes to act like the good husband. He's very aware of the fact that he'll do the dishes, and he hopes she thanks him for getting a Band-Aid for her cut finger. So he knows what he needs to do to keep on the good side. She also eggs him on, even when he is very logically answering her question. She will just ignore it and say, yeah, but what if? Forget about the logic, answer the question. So both of them have something that's gnawing at them and not happy with the way the other's responding about or to things. But again, in terms of identity, she's asking the question. Of course, one of the things that comes up, interestingly enough, in a lot of my classes is the notion of asking hypothetical questions to your mate, whoever that may be, girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, wife, whoever. Would you still love me if? Or something like that. And I'm sure there's a bunch of you out there who are guilty of this. And of course the question is why? Why do we do this? Sometimes it's just to mess with someone, sometimes it's just to annoy them. But a lot of times it's because you want to hear something. Obviously you want to hear positive. You want to hear them say yes. And but we do it, and we do this. We force the issue with outlandish things. What if I was, whatever, all these physical and crazy things happen, and you said, but would you still love me? expecting the other person to pledge allegiance to your love, to their love, by saying yes. Interestingly enough, at the end of the essay, of the story, if you look at that last paragraph again, it's hard to know what to make of it, as I might have mentioned in another video. He's in the bedroom. She says she'll be in there in a minute. She's in the bathroom. We hear a clinking of bottles, and she's obviously preparing herself. And then finally, she comes in and she shuts the light off. Now they're plunged into darkness. These two characters disappear into darkness. Jake and the girl from Love in LA disappear down the road, off the highway. Nobody lives on a highway. You can't stay there anyway. So they're gonna go off someplace else, never to meet again, probably. These two are in the same bedroom, but they're in darkness. Everything is obliterated except what they can hear. Race is obliterated. Gender is obliterated. Everything's gone except their voices. And so what does that mean? Who are they now? Just two physical bodies in the same space. Maybe that's what we should all strive for, because then there wouldn't be any. I mean, what would we have to be prejudiced against? But of course, we can't live in the darkness, metaphorically or literally. So, identity becomes this weird thing that we sort of need to carry around with us, I suppose. And then the storm, again, there's plenty of discussion, again, if this were a lit class, plenty of discussion we could have about marriage and truth and morals and all of those things. But in terms of our focus, in terms of identity, who is she? You know, in the sense of, she seems to be, on the one hand, of two personas. She's the acceptable, stereotypical good wife at home doing the laundry, and she'll cook dinner. She's also this wild thing that absolutely instinctually has an affair with an ex-lover. When a storm comes in, again, implying that it's a natural thing to do. It's as natural and as unstoppable as a storm. This is the quick answer to the story, if you will, or one of the answers. There are lots of discussions, lots of layers of this tiny story, but one thing is for sure, I think, is the idea of the storm and their affair happening simultaneously implies clearly that Kate Chopin wants us to think of this as normal and natural and nothing to worry about. When this story came out back in the 19th century, she was practically a pariah. She was, people went berserk. How could this woman do this? And how can nothing happen? Why are there no consequences to this? Why isn't she punished? So the woman lives happily ever after. Now we look at a story like this today, and probably a lot of us think, yeah, okay, fine, whatever. I'm sure a lot of you have morals that would insist that this is the wrong thing. Whatever you'd like, but the story suggests that things can go on and back to normal even when one of the spouses is, well, I want to use the word unfaithful, but that implies that it's wrong. When one of the doesn't exactly act in the way that we have expected married couples to act. I can't think of another word but unfaithful, but I don't want to use that word. Anyway, so all of these things have to do with that. Now, as far as this identity issue being very, very appropriate, I think, and apt these days, is this whole notion of we're all in this together, which is really more than I haven't seen it like this before in my lifetime. Yes, we come together during Sandy, during 9/11, during other periods of stress. But this is a little different because this is global. This is absolutely global. This is not just New York or the United States or some other country. This is everyone. And so when we keep hearing this, we're all in this together, there's a sense of, again, obliteration of identity. There's no, to the idealists, it's we're all the same. We're just flesh and blood. Forget about the color of your skin, your religion, your culture, whatever. We're all the same. And this proves it, because the coronavirus doesn't discriminate. And so therefore, there is no such thing as identity to the coronavirus. Which, is in some way, philosophically and even psychically, it's sort of a crazy equalizer. But it does give you pause to wonder, when this is over, do we just go back to being different? And why? When we don't have anything to be in together that's overt like this, what do we go back to? We're all in life together, which is not as compelling as fighting a virus. There's an article in today's paper. Yesterday's paper, I just took it out, and it was an article about this very thing. And it makes a point about celebrities. I'm sure you've seen these people on TV, on YouTube, all these singers and dancers and rap stars and everybody making tiny videos, singing songs and doing things. And I'm going to quote this. It says, among the social impacts of the coronavirus is its swift dismantling of the cult of celebrity. Again, being a celebrity is part of someone's identity too. The famous are ambassadors of the meritocracy. They represent the American pursuit of wealth through talent, charm, and hard work. But the dream of class mobility dissipates when society locks down, the economy stalls, the death count mounts, and everyone's future is frozen inside their own crowded apartment or palatial mansion. The difference between the two has never been more obvious. As the grocery aisles turn bare, some have suggested that perhaps they ought to eat the rich. So again, the article goes on to talk about looking at Madonna or Pharrell or a lot of these people living in there, wondering, talking about how we're all in this together as they're sitting in their palatial mansions, their gorgeous apartments up on some penthouse someplace, huge backyards with 25,000 acres. When we're sitting in our small apartments or little rooms, wherever we are, not poverty, I just mean they're not like us. So it reminds me of that, what is that Jennifer Lopez thing? They mention her in the article too. Oh, they blast her. But yeah, I'm Jenny on the block, or I'm just Jenny on the block. No, she's not. And so this becomes, their identity is now threatened. We love having celebrities, but the minute something happens, you're not like me. Don't pretend to be like me. So this identity thing is quite something. It's being called into question, and it's not just what we're doing during it, but as I said, it might be something to consider about what we do after it. So there's a quick run through of 3 stories. They're good stories. I think you should read them again if you have the time. And if you haven't read them, please do, and then play this video again. And please look for probably tomorrow morning I'll do it, to give you an update on how things are going in Hofstra and the course and the proficiency exam and all of that stuff. So it's almost, dinner time's coming. Everybody take care of yourselves, wash your hands, stay well, and I hope to see you all on campus in the fall. Peace, everybody.